Hello, everyone. Hope your day has been a great one. Again, this is Gloria. I am the blogger at shelovesgoodthings.com. I'm also the creator of the Love in the Work You Do podcast, and of course, this YouTube channel, which really is a mishmash of everything that I'm about. It's about my journey to discover my calling and everything that I do along the way. I just come here and I just put them here for myself and for everybody else. So don't forget to hop on that blog, shelovesgoodthings.com, and go on Apple and listen to some of the older podcasts that I've recorded. I haven't recorded anything in the last year and a half, or almost 2 years, but I'm telling you, the recordings, the information that are still out there are really great. Also, check out the YouTube page, because most of the recordings on Apple Podcasts, Audible Podcasts, Amazon are the same. Some of the same are what's on this YouTube page. Not everything, but most of them. And so you'll find things that will help you become the best version of yourself. So today's vlog is really about all the books that have impacted me in 2022. I love studying. I love researching things. I find a word, I dig deeper to find out what it means. And that's really also the life of anyone with ADHD. We dig into the things that we like. We go deeper and study, and our interest makes us really myopic. Based on that information, I know now that a lot of people are ADHD spectrumed. And again, this is not a bad gift at all. It's a really great gift. I don't see it as a disadvantage. Knowing that that's what I have, it's really brought a lot of things in perspective for me, and it's made things more clearer in terms of how to best serve myself and how to serve the people that I work with, and even how to serve my children. So today I will be sharing with you the books that I've read in 2022 that have impacted me. I read a lot and I listen to podcasts, but with the pandemic, of course, getting back on podcasts has also been a little bit more difficult. But yeah, books and Audible, I've been doing that. And so this might end up being a longer vlog, but just bear with me and hopefully you listen to the end. But this, and I hope you resonate with some of the books here. And also, if you have any books that you're reading, please comment below, share your book with me. I'd love to know what you're reading too. It's not just about me, it's a place for you and it's a place for me too. So we are going to, so I have let's see, let me make sure you can see all my pile. So we have this set of, and there's a book on the floor somewhere. So it's this set of books, and then this one, and I'm going to scoot on over, and then there's some I wrote down on my planner. So, we are going to start with what happened in January. So, January, the book that I started reading in January was this. Where is it? This is the book that started my January. Oh my gosh, it's Letters to a Modern Mystic. And oh my gosh, do I ever feel like a mystic? Yes, I do, because my religious upbringing between my parents' religion and the religion I follow, and the history of my grandparents' religion, which you have your history too, because you might not necessarily have been Christian. My grandparents, direct grandparents, were Christians, and they went to can't remember that church, but it was in Alagomeji in Nigeria, near where Ogunde lived. That's all I remember. Home Praying Band was the church, Grandma's church, and um, yeah. So it's like they wore white garments. They had harvest. They'd have all those bananas hung up on the little thing on the roof, and you'd kind of like pluck it down. And what else do I remember from those days in Nigeria? Free John on Easter with fried fish, croquet. Those were good. Those were good. So I started January reading The Modern Mystic. This totally changed me. I don't even know how to explain it, but this book is about a missionary who was stationed in, I think he was in the Philippines, and he was also someone who had a degree in psychology, so was a therapist of some kind. And while he was there, he realized like, oh, some of the skills in therapy kind of like transferred back to Christianity. Like, so he started using self-talk more, and he used self-talk as a way to conversate with God. So he was doing contemplation, doing self-talk. And then I love that at the end of the book, after missionary work, and he went back home to his parents and to his family, to his kids and his loved one, he realized that he couldn't do as much as he wanted to. I think for me that was the most striking part, because I always tell people that are close to me that, oh my gosh, like, COVID is, we're out of pandemic, but we're still in the pandemic. And that, in as much as I try to do the best I can, I can't anymore, because the pandemic was a gift for me. I was able to sit home. There was no driving, no taking the kids back and forth. And then, if you remember at the beginning, there was that time where the kids were not even in school. So, like, there was so much blessing that the pandemic gave me, which to me feels more like a foreshadowing of what my future would be when my kids are much older. Like, things won't be as hectic as they currently are. And so he had that same experience, and he was able to now realize, like, okay, so now that you're home, it's time with family. There, of course, there may not be as much of a balance. He has to balance things while he's home. That being on a mission was apparently a gift to him, where he could totally commit himself to God, pray, wake up, contemplate, wake up, contemplate, work with the missionaries, contemplate, that was a gift. So I thought that was really good. So let me read something that he wrote down. So January 2nd, 1932, he wrote, I cannot think of anything worth writing, and sometimes cannot remember names. Henceforth, I resolve to regard these as God's signal that I am to stop and listen. Sometimes you want to talk to your son, and sometimes you want to hold him tight in silence. God is that way with us. He wants to hold still with us in silence. Isn't that beautiful? So, like, I have like little things that I have like highlighted in the book. Okay, here's another one. The experiment of holding God endlessly in mind would all write their experience so that each would know what the other was finding as a result of the result. Let me start from beginning. Sorry about that. Experiment of holding God endlessly in mind, which is the self-talk, would all write their experiences so that each would know what the other was finding as a result. So his experiment that he carried out in the Philippines um, ended up being something that became something that was used worldwide. So people, it became as popular as, like, the purpose driven life, and it was able to use that to help people. Let me see. Look, I wrote a note in the book. So I wrote here, when I decide I must love God as equally as I love everyone else. Okay. I have here something else. So it's like, maybe when we can't feel God is when He is doing the loving. Oh, nice one. All right. So that's the modern mystic, and it letters by a modern mystic. And this book again literally changed how I related with God. It validated why contemplation was really important. And I'll tell you how I found this book. So during the COVID, I created a journal, even though it still hasn't been published yet. And I ended up publishing the planner first. And, it was just surreal that, with this journal, I was really so close to God, is what it was. Like, in terms of just sitting there meditating, just basking in God's presence, and whatever, what is God to you? In as much as I love my God and my Jesus, like, you still have a place where you can hold yours too. So for me, I totally bask in the wonders and the love of Jesus. And it just was because of that journal that I started digging, like, is there more to this journal? Is there more to this journal I wrote? And in the process, I found out the St. Ignatian Christians had in the past exactly what I was doing. They wrote, they meditated, they journaled, they did things that were somatic and kinesthetic in nature. And I'm telling you, I totally felt connected to the Ignatian Christians. Like, I was like, those are my peeps. Like, they're Catholic, but that's everything that's working for me. And that I had to go back in the ages to the 18 what have you to find this information. I feel like we're doing a disservice to ourselves as Christians, not knowing that things like breath work, like meditation, like journaling, like the examen prayers, that those are all things that are there for us to use in addition to prayer and worship. That we're not relegated to just the little bits and pieces. So finding this book came as a result of me writing the journal, and this book has totally changed my life. So I forgot to say, so the first group of books I'm showing you are the books that I finished in 2022. There are some books I started I did not finish. Excuse me. Attached. I've read Attached. This is my second time reading Attached. I feel like it'll become a book that I read every year. So Attached is it tells you it's the new science of adult attachment, and it can help you find and keep love. Pretty much, again, what I love talking about, people and relationships, and how we can all work together and relate better. Once I know how you behave, once I can figure out that, Mrs. A is an insecure person, then I try to learn Mrs. A's way. If I know that Mr. B appears avoidant, then do like Mr. B wants you to do. And I find that really similar to how the Bible describes, I believe it was Peter, as in it was always everything to everyone. Like, I don't, again, I used to have issues with people and all of that, but this attach really makes you a secure person. And that's the goal, to live your best life, to fulfill potential. You really need to be a secure person. You don't need to be an avoidant. You do not need to be an insecure. You do not need to be dismissive. You need to be a secure person. And anyone that works with me, either my kids or anyone I'm coaching or anyone that comes to any of my events, my goal is to always leave you feeling more secure in my company, and for you to be more secure in yourself, in the way you express yourself. So this is really good. I'm going to flip to one of the pages that I love in the book, and let's just look at a situation where effective communication is regarded for a secure person. So let's say your ex, or not your ex, say your boyfriend, he always calls at the last minute to make plans. So ineffective communication would say, well, tell him you're busy whenever he does that, so that eventually he'll learn to call well in advance. Do you see the toxicity in that? And that's why, like, literally most of the things I hear lately, I'm like, okay, toxic, toxic, toxic. That's how we did it in the past. Doesn't work in the future. Doesn't work in the present world that we're living in. Explain that you feel unsettled, not knowing when and if you'll see him, and that it's better for you to at least have a ballpark schedule of when you'll get together ahead of time. Pretty simple. That's all it is. But sometimes we make things so much more difficult than it really should be. We catch feelings, we interpret words. Secure people don't interpret words. They just see the whole world as perfect as it is. They give goodwill, they receive goodwill, and they see things as goodwill too. So if you're looking to change how you relate in your relationships, I'll suggest that you read Attached. It's by Amir Levine and Rachel S.F. Heller. So another book that I finished this year is A Parent's Guide to Gifted Children. Well, I didn't finish it. I was part of a group of parents in Baltimore City who read the book in a group, and we had about 6 weeks of reading. But it's a really great book because, truthfully, for me, every kid is a gifted child. There is a psychologist on Twitter I follow, Dr. Dedoyi, and I love when she said one day that, you know what, not just people with learning disability, but literally normal people are on a spectrum too. And that is so true, So A Parent's Guide to Gifted Children. This book pretty much tells you how to help your child who is special, like special education, because they have ADHD, because they have anxiety. It pretty much tells you that those disabilities are really powerful. I will tell you, I remember when I was teaching in the Sunday school at Bridgeway Church in Columbia, Maryland, and I was in Safe Haven Church. That was a class for the children with physically challenged needs. That was the most beautiful class. Like, these children are gifted. I remember each one of them. It's just amazing the things that they can do, the things that they can see. Oh my gosh, I remember, like, years ago when I worked in DC, someone who had Down syndrome was the first person who knew I was pregnant. That's how gifted people with special needs are. To me, we're all just angels, pretty much, and they are angels too. They are angels that are so much on the spectrum that they've come here with a lot of sensory things that don't fit into this world that we live in. And like, this person will literally be like, oh, you're having a boy. Oh, you're having a girl. Oh, I see baby. I see baby. And it never failed. If he told you saw baby, you will get pregnant. You will not that you will get pregnant. That means you're already pregnant. But he could see it clearly. So it's just a gift. I wanted to read something from this book. Let's see if there's anything I underlined. Okay. Let's see. Here's this one. Gifted children typically need fewer rules. So if you have a child who's autistic, has ADHD, has anxiety, has autism, has dysgraphia, dyslexia, literally they need fewer rules. So if you haven't heard that before, you're hearing it today. They're usually able to see the reasons for limits and learn very rapidly to anticipate consequences. We suggest that parents set the fewest limits necessary to ensure safety and security. And this helps in four specific ways. One of the ways is, first, it allows parents to provide the child with age appropriate choices and provide proof and freedom within the limits they are set. Okay, let's jump to and finally, the firmly set boundary allow the child some room for growth and experimentation. As the child matures, boundaries may be expanded. So this was really good because it helped me set the stage with taking care of my son in this 2022. It's been a ride taking care of Jay. Like, literally, I tell people it's like a whole village needs to raise Jade on a day. Alright. One other book, Soul Keeping. Literally, I read Soul Keeping like once every 2 years. Oh, upside down. No, it's not. It is an amazing book. I came in contact with this book after I asked a question it was in Bridgewater Church. It was our Wednesday night alive. I think it was 2019 or 2018, but definitely before COVID. And I think it was Pastor Dan. He was talking. We were discussing a different book, and then he said something. I asked a question, and then he mentioned this book. So I bought it like the next Sunday at the bookshop, and this helps you understand how to take care of your inner life. Yes, I bought it in 2019. Yay! It teaches you how to take care of your inner life. It's by Dallas Willard. It's not by Dallas Willard, but it's John Ortberg, who kind of researched and studied under Dallas Willard. Explains the soul, the will, and what the soul is. He explains it to you. He also draws emphasis on some of the things that Dallas Willard talks about, like this one here, which I like. Our soul is like a stream of water, which gives strength, direction, and harmony to every other area of our life. When the stream is as it should be, we are constantly refreshed and exuberant in all we do, because our soul itself is then profusely rooted in the vastness of God and His kingdom, including nature. And all this within us is enlivened and directed by that stream. Therefore, we are in harmony with God, reality, and the rest of human nature and nature at large. So if you're working on your inner life, in your inner story, your inner child, doing your inner work, this is a great book for you. If you're tired, if you're weary, if you're run down, if you feel like you're carrying everybody else's burden in the world but yourself, this is the book for you. If you feel like you're lost in people, in places, and things, this is your book. This is the book that it's almost calling you to that word that Jesus uses in the Bible. Take my yoke upon you. I believe that's the word. That's what this book calls you to. It calls you to a place of rest, a place of restoration. It calls you to a place of reflection. So, I finished this in 2022. So, let's see. And this amazing book, God and Joy, oh my gosh, I loved it. Again, it's by the the same author who wrote this one. Um, I hope I'm right. Wait, William H. Barry. To his father by. I think it is. I can't remember. I'll check. If not, I will cut you this out of this thing, of the video. Okay, so, and then there's this book, God and You, God and Joy, and oh my word, if you're looking to have a personal relationship with God, a one-on-one, if you've never had that before, which I, in spite of being in Christianity for a long time, I have a one-on-one relationship with God, but I didn't have prayer as a relationship, and this book totally did that for me. It just changed my perspective on prayer. Like, it's just wonderful what this book does. Teaches you how to pray. I recommend this book if you're an ADHD. And when I do come back and talk about praying as a person with ADHD and anxiety the next time, this is one of the books I'll be bringing with me. And so a couple other books that I don't have here because they are on my Audible are, I read How to Think Critically, and it's by Albert Rutherford. And it's also because as someone with ADHD, I sometimes most of the times, for things that I am not conversant with, I haven't studied deep enough for it to be in my long-term memory, I can't provide information about them sometimes on the spot. Like I have to juggle the memory before I pull out that information, and that's almost like doing a whole lot of brain dumping before I can talk about that thing. So what that book did is to teach me the skills and to show me research and how other people have done it. And I really enjoyed it. I finished it on Audible, and I'll be reading it again in 2023. Also, I will move on to the other book that I have on Audible, and that's the book called the Ashtavakra Gita, and it's a Buddhist book. Oh my gosh, so much knowledge, so much wisdom. It's a shame that all religion don't just appreciate that they are all coming from a place of love. But so much wisdom in this book, the Ashtavakra Gita. And because I started reading the Ashtavakra Gita and also watching some other YouTube videos by other Gita teachers, I again always looking for that comparative side of things where Christianity meshes with the other things, because I truthfully run with the fact that everything that's on earth, above the earth, below the earth, is given to us by God. So we have dominion to use it. And so I wanted to see where I could find a similarity in Christianity and this, just the same way as I did the journal, and I was like, wait, this can't be something I started by myself, like tracing the history of journaling. And so what I found out was that we do have this again in the Catholic religion. Anthony de Mello's book, I read it this year. And I've watched so many other YouTube videos. Totally changed my life, brought into fullness for me things that people like Oprah, share about when they're doing their talk show. Things that like Eckhart Tolle talks about, like Wayne Dyer, all of those teachers. Anthony de Mello, a Christian Catholic priest, brought that together for me. And it just validated that what I needed to do for myself to be well as someone who has ADHD. So, yeah, one of the book was Awareness, and there are other ones. I read Awareness in 2022. All right, so let's go to the books that I haven't finished in 2022. Some of them I've had as early as January. So, of course, everybody knows there's too much information in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So, starting in January, I also use it for my coaching classes as we work on time management skills. I haven't finished it. Sacred Rhythm, also by another Christian. And because after reading, where's that book? Second. Oh, after reading this, I was immediately interested in being a spiritual director. And so I wanted to know what they did and things of those nature, because William H. Barry is a spiritual director. And so I bought her book because in her book, it's she talks about the rhythm of order in the world, explores the practices that spiritual seekers and growing disciples have used throughout history to grow closer to God. And that's pretty much what my life is about. I just want to grow closer to God. I don't do religion. I do connection to God. And so this book was doing that for me. But again, I never finished reading it. So spiritual practices that nourish your soul and transform your life. So things about longing for more in spiritual life, solitude and silence, creating space for God, encountering God in scripture, honoring the body, flesh and blood spirituality, the examine, which is amazing, bringing my whole self to God. And that's the examine is like the journaling I mentioned. A rule of life, cultivating your own. So I'm going to try that for 2023. And again, because I got interested in spiritual direction and I was looking for the correlation, the comparative between my journaling and the Ignatian journaling and practice, I again got this book, and it's the Ignatian workout. It just shares daily spiritual exercises that you do to get fit in Jesus. And so things like, everyday thinking, just things you follow, just little exercises that you'll do to work out your spiritual muscles and fulfill destiny and be your own authentic self in the world. Also, one more book I bought, The Practice of Spiritual Direction. So again, because I was interested in being a spiritual director for a minute, I bought this book. And it's by William A. Barry. I haven't had time to read it. Okay, if you know me and follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I think more on Facebook, I share stuff about NASA, Moon, Jupiter, stars. Okay, I'm not too sure about horoscopes, but I love astrology, and I bought this book at Five Below, so Moon and Magic, and I love astrology because I found out that my periods affected how my mood was, and that was how I was able to and it happened cyclically all the time, and that was how I was able to tell my doctor then that something wasn't right. Like I documented for a whole year, like around this period this happened, and that information helped me get my diagnosis. No, be It helped me stay on my doctor that look, something is up, this is the cycle. And then after that, she did that whole test with me, and then they were able to find out that I had PMDD. That was before COVID. So since then, I'd known that some of us may work with the cycle of the moon. I don't know about other people, and I also don't know what happens like when your period ends. Like, but I'm sure if I research that, I'll find information. So anyway, I saw this book there, and I was like, oh, let me buy it and learn more. But it contains a lot of stuff. Talks about energy, the chi, incorporating the moon practice into your daily habits. Building an altar, like it has a whole lot of stuff. Herbs, cooking herbs. I think it also has like some concoction and stuff. So like if you're not into those, if you're not brave enough to check out moon magic, if you feel like it's like all witchy or evil, then please, you don't need to try it out. I, on the other hand, I studied comparative religion, and even if I didn't, I love to find the symbolism and the comparison between things. So, go figure. And then I bought this one too. It's an astrology dictionary. Again, I love astrology. Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde. Where's Saturn? Where's Jupiter? What's happening with Saturn? What's happening with Uranus? Those are really important planets out there. Like, as a Christian, I feel like I'm doing myself a disadvantage if all I'm taking advantage of is the things on this earth, when God has an abundance of things in the galaxy that works for us. I was on a Facebook live when a couple of, no, was it a Facebook live, or was I signed on to like a educational Zoom where astronauts, no, engineers from NASA were on. And I remember asking the lady a question. I was like, okay, more from a astrological standpoint, I was like, oh, can you share like what the benefit of the sun is to humans? And she was like, it gives us light, doesn't it? Like, and I was like, that is amazing. Like, you just take the sun as just been there. Sometimes I even forget it gives us light. But again, so it's the same thing for like all the other planets. There has to be something they're doing. The sun gives us light. The moon gives us light at night. Uranus must be doing something. Saturn must be doing something. Jupiter must be doing something. So that's how I choose to see astrology, as things that God has put here to help us. And I try to listen to like really educational astrologers. I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He doesn't do interpretation and things like that. But there are a couple of YouTube people who do interpretation, and they'll tell you, oh, in this certain month, this is what's happening. Now, I like astrology. A horoscope, that thing will get you in trouble, because it'll tell you that, you are going to be doing ABC today, or you'll be meeting XYZ. And see, those stuff, I don't like giving my agency away. That is too much of an agency. So I like hearing about those kind of stuff directly from God. And I also read another book called The Empowered Projector. Again, the Empowered Projector is because on personality types, Myers Briggs. What's the other one? Brain freeze. Strength Finder. Um, 360 profile. And all the other ones out there that I can't remember at this moment. Golden personality test. All of those help you by giving you ideas of how you work best based on questions you've answered. And they're more mainstream now, but all of those things didn't start mainstream. And that's the same thing with what's called human design. So with human design, I'm a projector, and I love that I'm a projector, but it also teaches you strategies on that actually validate things that you've always known all your life about yourself. So I've read that. I finished that. So it's in the other pile. Totally forgot because it's in my Audible. And then the one I just recently got in November is the Enneagram. So the Enneagram 2 is like, what's it called? It's like human design, but this is more mainstream with Christians. You use it to decipher what your personality is also. And, you could, let me see. So with the Enneagram, I'm a 4, and so it says invitation is originality, union with God. Your fruit of the Spirit is consistency and balance. And we could review this in a future video because I don't understand this yet as much myself. Lyrical type of speaking, lyrical, lamenting. Sexual subtype, competition. Social subtype, shame. Self-pressuring subtype, resistance. I don't know what all those things mean, but then they have other stuff. Yeah, they have like your colors, the things that drag you down, your pitfall, your root sin. Our Father, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Let me see if there's anything I can read that might help you. So for someone who is an 8, when I read this, it might resonate with you. With 8s, we return to the domain of the God, which embraces 8, 9s, and 1s. Just as we once want to be good boys and good girls, 8 want to be bad boys and bad girls. Good girls go to heaven, and bad girls go everywhere. That contemptuous saying was surely invented by an 8. Early on, they got the impression that the world punishes soft tendencies, and so they put their money on hardness. As children, many 8s had the experience of being repressed or pushed around. They could trust no one but themselves. Children of the Holocaust and children from the slums, where you can't afford to show weakness or cry, often become 8s. In their clique and gangs, they have to undergo tests of courage to prove how brave, daring, and fearless they are. Some 8s also report that their parents rewarded strength. Don't take it. Hit back. Show the other guy who's boss. 8s have developed the feeling that the strong rule the world and the weak have drawn the short straw. Yeah, let's go somewhere else. Let's see, let me read. Even though when I took the test years ago, I said I was a 4, sometimes I feel like I'm a 5. But I guess that's what they call the wing. So the wing is like you have like a little bit in another category. Okay, type 4. The need to be special. That's definitely me. 4s put their gifts to work to awaken a sense of beauty and harmony in their surroundings. 4 are by nature ecumenically oriented. They reject the division of the world into sacred and profane. They are more at home in the realm of the unconscious, of symbols and dreams. That's definitely me. Than in the real world. Symbols help them to be with themselves and express themselves. They also have the gift of helping others to develop an eye for the beauty and for the world of dreams and symbols. Fours are drawn their vital energy from fours to draw their vital energy from others. Their life question is, what do you think of me? Do you notice me? Do I catch your eye? Now, all of those are not me. 4, strive to be aesthetically attractive. Now we're talking. To be exceptional, to be creative, or in some cases, to appear esoteric. I was born that way. Eccentric, extravagant, or exotic. What are you talking about? That's all me. But the style and spontaneity of an immature 4 have something artificial about them. All right. 4s are easy to recognize. First, they have a tendency to wear odd clothes. Definitely me. Almost all 4 demonstrate their melancholy side with a preference for colors such as black and violet. Some are also inclined to dress in as motley and crazy a manner as possible. Many are vegetarians and animal rights activists, feminists, adherents to eccentric ideals about health. Possessions bring little joy to 4s. All right, so you get the gist. So the book is Enneagram, A Christian Perspective. So I hope you will be able to share some of the books that have influenced your 2022 down below. Thank you so much for it's like one of those gnats things. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I feel like it's a long video. All right, cut. So that's it. Those are the books I have read in 2022 and the ones that I didn't finish reading. Share the books that you are reading down below, or the books that you finished reading this year and you can't wait for everyone to hear about. Look forward to talking to you soon.